Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack back again to bring you Mythic Elisande and some of my thoughts and perspective on what's going on in the fight. Now, to start off, some of my talents and stuff like that I was taking, which is the standard Benediction, Piety, Divinity, Enlightenment build. It's a very long fight, it's very mana intensive, and you are going to need as much mana as you possibly can get. It is extremely, extremely important. For this fight, I had one Innervate, and that's it in terms of external mana mechanics. Right off the pull, I'm popping my Hymn. The timings for your cooldowns, which I have in my Angry Assignments, which is to my right, you'll be able to see when we're using our cooldowns and everything like that. Well, with the timing for mine, I'm trying to get mine off during the Delphuric Beams. Well, to have the right timing for that, I need to be popping my Hymn just about off the pull. Each phase is a little under 3 minutes or so. So well into phase 2, I'll be able to get my Hymn off again as Delphuric Beams going off and things like that. You know, it's very, very important to be able to burst through. The healing requirement is pretty damn high, and the DPS requirement is very tight on this fight. It's very, very important. So, for example, to get the fast time buff constantly and always be refreshing it, my weak core on the top is making sure that I'm always going to get the buff. As long as you're always getting the refresh on it, you should be in great shape. And from there, it's all about dodging balls for the most part. You know, the soaking mechanics and stuff like that aren't too wildly different as long as, you know, you're setting up a pretty good order like we have, again, in the top right in my Angry Assignments. And from here, it's all about coordinating your raid group and making sure you're able to dodge the balls as best as you possibly can. I run a little bit further out than you may ordinarily do on like normal or heroic, just to make sure that whenever the balls bounce back, because on Mythic they do bounce back at you, you're going to be able to dodge them. So again, run out, run a little bit further. I usually never look at them personally. I always try to look at the bottom of my screen as they're coming up towards us, and then I focus more on the meters. Otherwise, I'm kind of swinging my camera all over the place, and it, you know, can be kind of disorienting. So if you're a DPS, obviously we'll be looking at the boss a lot more often. But for me, many, many points of the fight, I just kind of have my back to it all. You know, as long as you're able to see where the orbs are coming from, you should be just fine. But I didn't find that I really needed to be turning around to face them every single time. You know, you'll get into a relative pattern where you know just about where the orbs are going to be going, and you'll be able to more or less be predicting them. For the spanning singularities, the puddles that Elisande will be making regularly over the course of the fight, you don't really have to worry too much about it as a healer. I never got the spanning singularity under me, and I was always running just further away on my own, or I just stand right underneath the pink bubble, because as the range DPS, we're just baiting everything out for us, so wasn't too bad. As we're going into phase 2, there's going to be a regular tank explosion going out, so you'll see our tank in blue, who will just constantly be exploding. It's something to kind of keep in mind as the fight is going on. Just whenever you're seeing the tank who is marked, you can like leave the group. There's going to be some kind of explosion going on in the entire raid after the fact. So always try to keep that in mind. And as you're watching everybody around you, you know, any way that you can make sure, okay, everyone's topped off enough, everyone's going to be able to survive through this. Because getting through that and getting through, say, for instance, Delphuric Beam are going to be a really, really big deal. So, of course, Delphuric Beam does not just stop at its target, it goes all the way through. So you got to make sure that you're not stacking any of the beams on top of each other. It can get pretty complicated as you're going later into the fight, and say the boss has to move during Delphuric Beam. So there's a lot of burst damage that can go out, and that's one big reason why I have my Hymn going over the course of that period. You know, the damage, the AoE spot damage and stuff, AoE and spot damage that's going out can be very, very high. So always trying to keep on point with your spellcast as best as you possibly can. Like I said, the healing requirement can be very, very high, and it's very, very important to be able to top people off. And of course, the soakers are going to need immediate healing whenever possible. So you get the situation here where the Delphuric Beam is going off, and we had multiple ones stacked on top of each other. And that is, of course, what killed me. But luckily, I have Legendary Cloak, and I already used a mana potion ahead of time because of how likely these scenarios can happen, where they are stacked on top of each other. That, you know, as long as I'm getting my mana potion off early, there's really not a good time to use a Ley Torrent, I found. So I already used my instant mana pot, and my mana pot now has another 30 seconds before it comes off cooldown, and we're entering phase 3. Phase 3 is actually fairly anticlimactic. A lot of it is going to come down to just dodging your orbs, following your same kind of soaking patterns, and just dodging anything that is thrown at you. You know, the healing requirement in this phase is also a lot lower, as you're going to see. You know, I'm going from 1.6, 1.7 million, and I'm going to be dropping down from that point. The damage really can just be cooldown through for the most part. There will still be some spot damage and stuff like that. You know, I'm popping my Innervate as soon as I possibly can for damage right here, just to deal with. Any time that you're able to be using your Innervate, just on cooldown as frequently as possible. Whenever there's going to be a big damage spike happening and you need to be consuming a lot of mana, you know, being able to pop out the Innervate helps out so much. I do wish I had more mana mechanics, but, you know, resources are always going to be limited, and you have to be very cautious with them. You know, you'll be able to see in the logs linked below in the description, my overheal is very low with Prayer of Healing and Sanctify on this kill, and it's very important that I keep it that way. You know, any kind of wasteful healing is just going to hurt your mana so much, and you really just cannot afford to be in that kind of situation. You know, I'm always trying to be using my Prayer of Mendings on cooldown, my Light of Turres on cooldown. Anything that is extremely mana efficient is going to help us get through this. Again, like I said, I never really planned an area to die specifically for my Legendary Cloak, because worst case scenario, I can just jump into some orbs, and a likely scenario, like we saw happen, where there's just so much spike damage that can happen just because of Delphuric Beams and things like that. So a lot of things that you need to be aware of. The quicker that you and your raid master just dodging the bounce backs from the orbs, the easier this fight is going to be, and it'll put you in a position into Phase 3. I believe it was the third time that we saw Phase 3, we had our kill. You know, it's something very common from here. Once you're hitting Phase 3, you're getting right to, you know, you're knocking right on the door of getting the boss down. From here, you really need to be able to just conserve your mana, keep everybody alive. You know, I'm still casting more flash heals and stuff like that just to keep everybody up and spot heal as best as I can, because the overall damage is not very high, but as long as I'm keeping people in a position where they're not going to be able to die from any kind of explosions, or if they take a wrong step into spending Singularity or anything like that as we're kind of rotating the boss around, it's very important just to keep people topped off while also trying to mix in a little bit of damage. You know, it's a nice, fine balance at this point, and I'm trying to mix in some smites whenever possible because smite is free and will still contribute some damage. I definitely want to be able to cast some chastises or use Holy Fire more often, but because they are costing mana, you know, I need to be able to find that happy balance, and casting more and more smites is the thing for me. So we're getting really close to Berserk. At this point, it's just a straight burn. You need to just deal as much damage as you possibly can, keep people up as best as you possibly can as well. You're still going to have the ads that are going to be out. They're still going to be pulsing on top of people. I drop a GS on our tank, in part just to be able to keep him top, just keep him healthy and things like that, but also because he is taking so much damage from the boss that you don't want to have him die and then, you know, somebody else gets killed on accident and then you lose all your DPS. From here, just a straight up burn. She enraged and we actually killed her right as she murdered all of us. And it was a fantastic kill. I'd never seen something like that in any of my Mythic boss kills. This was something that was extremely special to me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was a blast of a fight for me. I loved it. I had a great time with it. It's such a good fight for Holy Priest to heal just in general. So much of our healing is so hyper effective, so hyper efficient. I loved it. I had a great time. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, the works. If you ever want to hit me up in Discord, link is below. You're all more than welcome. Hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next time.